Hello again. If you've watched the previous 4 videos, you'll know how we got to having this model you see right here in the scene. I'd like to spend some time now talking about some of the features that make this model possible, and what might make it into the commercial version. There's some other things I haven't displayed to you, and also just what's happening here in general, and also how I knew how to do some of the fixes you saw in some of the previous videos, which I didn't touch on at all. So let me first just start off by talking about the history of the algorithm. First, I had a raycasting system and a fixed sized voxels, and while it worked, it didn't give me exactly the results I wanted. So I've played around with a few ideas, and this current version, if you actually have to look carefully, you'll see that not all the lines of all the voxels are axis aligned anymore. There are slants, there are skews, and not all voxels are the same shape anymore. But it keeps a general good cube shape of everything to give the look and feel that's required. What could make it into the commercial version, and that's what I'd like to show you now, is I added another little toy which can actually smooth out the final build a lot more. So I guess it's not so much 100% a voxel model anymore. I guess if a voxel is a 3D representation of an 8-bit game, then this might be somewhat a 3D representation of a 16-bit game. Just a general analysis, not accurate at all. So let me delete this model and bring up the debug rig so I can do a build again. And you'll see the setting for smoothing is on the original model, which is here. Now I've just applied it now. So now if I come back to this model, the debug rig, and say build full version, you'll see it has performed a smoothing operation on a lot of the shapes. It has a much different feel than the original model, or should I say the original voxel generated model. As you can see on the shoulder pads and on the back and on the legs, it's much more smoothed, but it's still pretty cool. So yeah, I have had some issues with some tearing on some of the edges. If I get it all 100% worked out, then this could be included, and I think it's a nice to have in case you're not looking for a 100% square model. Okay, great. I'm going to go and delete that, actually delete my whole debug rig and throw out that model. We'll talk more about some of the feature settings on the actual components. So let me take another model that I've previously used in a sample on the work in progress thread, which was a model of a dog. And let's turn the lighting off. So there he is, and I'll just go to my scripts, attach voxel converter. Again, this is a skin mesh, so I need to assign the bones. And for this one, I'm going to take it down from the default 20 to 16, and again I'll push the subdiv up by 3, and we can generate this model and have a look. There we go, that's how he looks. And yeah, here's where I want to point out again, a lot more of the shape is being maintained by having these varied size voxels and not having all axis aligned voxels. To get a similar feel out of purely square cubes, you'd have to generate a lot more cubes, and which is not always practical for any kind of game type when you've got a lot of other stuff happening on in the game. So that's how that looks there. I'm not going to even exclude anything else, but what I will do is just highlight. Let me go put the smoothing, the post smoothing option on, and we'll just generate it straight away. You'll see that's how that looks now. You can see how the shape is being held much better. I might include other algorithms going forward. You know, anyone who buys the tool in its current state, any added features that are added later would obviously be free, but this is the current state of the algorithm and the best working version. I can show you quickly, then this is what I wanted to show you. Let me just delete this model. I'll actually put it back to the formula where it does not use varying size voxels and do all the other in-between steps to get to that state. And let's just generate this. There was a warning there that you have a current debug rig open as well. If you just click generate without deleting it all, in case you do it by mistake, you can opt out. And there you can see. Now there's a purely cubed version with none of the lines skewed, everything is axis aligned. You can obviously do some exclusions, some of the feet areas there, and you might do some on the belly or what have you, but yeah, that's, you can color his eyes. I'm just going to build that guy up as he is. I forgot the smoothing on, so now it's done post smoothing, but it hasn't done the pre smoothing, which is probably a good thing to show you as well, because it also gives different results. You'll see this, you'll have to backtrack on the video to see that this model looks somewhat different from the first one we did that had the pre smoothing algorithm factored in and post smoothing out. But let me just do it as I plan to do it, and just take the post smoothing off as well. Let me build that up. And there you see he remains very square. So you can see the differences. I will leave in this option to leave it completely square. It sometimes is too zealous and produces too many voxels, which you need to manually exclude as part and parcel of just how it works. But if that's the desired effect you want, that will be in. Or you can choose the secondary algorithm, which gives you the varied size voxels and a better shape. Another thing, lastly, to point out that is the edge splits from the debug rig. Let me just delete this as well. Edge splits is something that is only calculated at the last build. So we're using edge splits now, but you can turn it off and build from your rig without edge splits, and turn it on and rebuild again with edge splits. It obviously increases the vertex count by approximately 35% in general. That's what I've seen. And the poly count will remain the same, the triangles wouldn't differ. But for correct lighting, it matters. If you want to just use an unlit version in a mobile game, I have a shader for that. I would definitely go for not putting edge splits in and have that reduction of vertices. Unless we can actually build that now without the edge splits. Okay, now this model is being lit, so you'll see because of not having edge splits, you get shading artifacts across any of the sharp edges. If I switch it to unlit shader, you wouldn't have a problem with any of that. There's an unlit shader. You can install the ambient occlusion still works on the unlit shader. So if you need to get some definition into the corners to actually, and it really helps, you don't have to have it on full, but my personal preference is always just to have it on slightly, so it gives you the idea of the shape. But yeah, that's it.